You can message me if you need to get in contact with me for anything. I really thought I was gonna get through that whole intro. Intro. My name is Zakia, and you can no, that's not. That's the old intro. Hey guys, welcome to episode 8 of the Ladywing Crafts podcast. My name is Zakia, and I'm coming to you from my parents' house in Tennessee on Sunday, January the 7th, 2018. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Ladywing Designs, where you can message me if you need to get in contact with me. You can also email me at ladywingdesigns@gmail.com. We have a Ravelry group for this podcast, which you can find by searching Ladywing Crafts Podcast on the Groups tab. There you'll find each episode's show notes, future giveaways, and any knit-alongs that we're hosting. Links to the group and everything that I talk about today will also be in the description bar down below. So yeah. I wrote out a new intro because we need to start the year off right. Like, I literally, wrote out word by word the intro, guys. Yeah. It happened on, the 5th time, though, so that's good. But anyway, so welcome to any new viewers. Welcome back to any returning viewers. How have you guys been? I'm recording a day late. I was supposed to record yesterday on Saturday, and then I just didn't feel like it, so I didn't. But, whatever. It's just a day, right? Which means you guys will get it on Monday instead of Sunday. Doesn't make that much of a difference. But, yeah, it's been a good week for me. I've pretty much just been knitting. Actually, I haven't done much. I went to knit night on Thursday, which was really fun because I haven't been able to see them while I've been at home, and I finally got sushi. And then we got sushi again yesterday. Just me and my dad, which was fun. Yeah, it's pretty much just been a chill week. Just a bunch of knitting going on, which is everyone's dream, right? A lot of crafty time. Oh yeah, Happy New Year. I hope that y'all's New Year started off really good as well. Excuse all the ums. I've only been awake for an hour, and the entirety of that hour was getting ready to podcast, so I'm not functioning yet. Oh, okay, one thing that I did want to say that happened within the last week, I finally started reading again. So I think I've mentioned on the podcast before that I used to be a really avid reader, and then I got to college, well, a little bit, I think halfway through high school, I stopped reading as much, and I didn't really pick it back up when I got to college. So now that I'm done with all of my seminar classes, where there's a ton of reading, yeah. So anyway, I've been wanting to start reading. I don't know where I was going with that first story. Anyway, I've been wanting to start reading again, and I am now. I was on Ravelry in a group, and someone asked for book recommendations, and she got 10 people to respond, and almost everyone had more than one book, so I think she'll be okay for a while. But I responded to her, and then someone else responded, and their suggestion sounded really good. So there's a prequel, and then oh no, I remember the name of it. So the series is, the first book in the series is Cast in Shadow, and I don't remember who the author is, but I'll put it across the screen. And then she was saying that there was a prequel to the whole series, but it wasn't necessary for you to read the prequel in order to understand, but I wanted to make sure that I was going to like the author's writing first, so I bought the prequel, and actually I haven't finished it yet because I found that it was so good that whenever I was reading I would stop knitting. So I had to make myself stop reading because I have a couple deadlines left. But yeah, so anyway, I've started reading again. That was the whole point of that, guys. So my week's been pretty great. I hope your week has been great. Let's get into some admin stuff. So, first thing, let's do this first. So I'm looking at my show notes if I'm looking down. I just want to say thanks to a couple of podcasters, Quaylen of the Quo podcast and Emily of the Purl Peaches podcast. Both mentioned me this week. So thank you guys. That was really sweet of you. I know for the Quo podcast, he tagged all of us on his Instagram post because he mentioned other podcasters as well. But Pearl Peaches didn't tag me or anything. She does. I think she's going to do a monthly podcast. She's in high school and she's a really great knitter already. So I found her podcast because she commented in the Ravelry group, and so I went to check it out. And so I was just watching, her newest episode this week, and she just happened to mention me, which was really sweet. So thank you to you both. And they're really good podcasts, so you guys should go check them out. So, Ravelry group stuff. So we have the Spring Garment Knit Along, which will be starting in exactly a week. So that will last from January the 14th to April the 30th. And I'm calling it a knit along. When I say Cal, I'm calling it a knit along just because I know I will be knitting things. And just because that's easiest. But I suppose I could call it a make along. If you crochet or sew or do some other type of crafting that yields that yields a wearable garment, then that's fine. And I would love to see it. It totally does not have to be knitting. That's just kind of what I first said. So yeah. Plus, it's going to be really difficult for me to remember make along and to remember to say mal. So I'm just going to stick with Spring Garment Cow because I can't confuse myself at this point. Anyway, yeah, so January the 14th through April the 30th. And this is just for us to knit any sweaters, cardigans, ponchos, capes, vests, etc., just in case I'm leaving something out, that we would wear to kind of cover up during the spring or essentially the fall. Think kind of winter, or not winter, spring or fall kind of cover up, just throwing something on over something, that type of thing. That's kind of where I was thinking with that. You can grab a light sweater and maybe throw it on over a t-shirt, or, throw on a cardigan or a poncho or something. That's kind of where I was going with that. But again, I'm not going to hard check everyone. If you post an FO, it's fine. So, so garments only. We did have a question in the chatter thread, which I'll leave a link to that below. But we did have a question about if shawls were allowed. Not for this one. I consider a shawl an accessory. Although it looks like a garment on me now, but no, that's more of an accessory, and I am planning to do an accessories knit along later in the year, so just hold out for that. So garments only, in order to be eligible. Yeah, garments only. And I had previously said that they couldn't be worsted weight, but then over the past week, I've kind of been thinking about that, and even though I'm not eligible for prizes, it was still a little bit hypocritical because my entry for this knit along is my Rosemont cardigan, which is a worsted weight pattern. So, plus, I can see myself taking a worsted weight sweater or garment and throwing it on just to keep warm if it's a little chilly. So, forget everything I said last week. It can be honestly, it can be whatever weight. If it's something that you would throw on in the spring or fall to kind of keep the, the chill off of you, that's fine. But again, think spring or fall and not like middle of winter. So, don't, maybe try not to make super heavy garments, but again, maybe you live in a climate where that bulky weight sweater is like, not that much to throw on. So I'm not going to spot check you guys. I just want people to participate in this one. Because, yeah, this is kind of an out of the blue knit along anyway. It's mostly motivation for me to get some garments done and to talk to you guys about what you guys are making. So, oh, the last thing I wanted to say is that to be prize eligible, just make sure that you are no more than 50% into your garment as of next Sunday, as of January the 14th, when the cow starts, and you will be prize eligible. I'm planning to draw for one prize from both the FO thread and the chatter thread. So we'll see how that goes depending on how many people participate and put FOs in the thread. We'll see how that goes. But there's already been a decent amount of chatter in the knit along thread, so please come share what you're working on or what you're planning, what yarn you're picking out. Feel free to cheer people on if you're not going to knit a garment. Yeah, let's hang out, have some fun. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say about Spring Garment Cow. And I had this idea yesterday. I'm also going to start a thread in the group for other knit-alongs that are going on in the podcast knitting community, or crafty community. Because like I crochet, I'm sure some of you sew or spin or, do other things. So I'm going to open a thread, and I haven't done it yet, but I'll probably do it while I'm editing, which means it'll be up when you guys see this. So I'm going to open another thread, and it'll be something like, I don't know, knit along master list something. I don't want to call it a master list because we're bound to miss some knit alongs, just because there are a lot happening. So it'll be something like that. It'll say other knit-alongs or master lists or something like that. But, and I'll link to it below as well. So I have a lot of knit-alongs that I'm like, I could participate in that, because a lot of them right now are, everyone's doing sweaters or garments, or they're doing socks and, other things. So I'm going to start a list for me and for you guys, if you so care to use it, of knit-alongs that are going on around the community. And I totally encourage you guys to get in there, maybe look at what I have up there, and if you guys know of other knit-alongs, please comment them, and I will kind of keep checking back and update the like first post, or maybe I'll update the header instead of the first post. But anyway, there will be a list of knit-alongs, kind of like a master list for us. And like I said, these can be knit-alongs, crochet-alongs, sew-alongs, spin-alongs. If you weave, sure, throw it in there. Someone else might weave, if it's just a general make-along, whatever. I don't mind putting all those up there for you guys to keep up with. So yeah, help me out some, because I've already forgotten at least 2 or 3 that are going on that I wanted to do or at least tell you guys about. So feel free to let me know about any that you guys know of. But I did want to, and I'm going to try to mention some on the podcast, like as I find them, even if I'm not necessarily participating in them. So this week, the ones that I'm going to mention are obviously the Box of Socks Cow, hosted by Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast. This is the 3rd year, I think. This is the 3rd or 4th year that she's done it. And I'm really glad she's doing it, because I have a big sock goal this year, so that'll help. So anyway, Box of Socks Cal. She's also doing a very casual Year of the Garment knit along in the Yarngasm group. The Patterned Sock Cal, which is hosted by Squirrel Pie Productions. And I'll link all of these in the thread since I already know about these, so I'm not going to go into detail. Just follow the link in the description bar, and all of these will have links to chatter threads. The January Sock Bash by the Grocery Girls, and the It's Not For You knit along, which is being hosted by Christy and Tristan of the Girls in the Yarn Cafe podcast. Yeah, so that's all I have written down. That's what I wanted to say about that. Okay, moving on. Because you guys are here, well, I guess that was knitted content. It's crafty content. It's about making things with other people. Anyway, not the point. So, let me talk about what I'm wearing. I guess I'll take it off. I had it around my neck at first, but it was a little too hot, so. This, if you've watched the first episode, you've seen it before. I thought it was fitting. It's the first episode of the year, so I'm wearing it again. And because I didn't feel like wearing my oracle. But anyway, so this is my exploration station, which is a glorious pattern by Stephen West that I made in July. Yeah, that I made in July over the summer. And I love this knit. If you can believe it, this still has not been blocked, which you might be able to believe it because you can see how my brioche kind of sinks back in. Although I don't know. I knit loose enough and I've worn this shawl enough that it's just opened. But yeah, I still have not blocked this shawl, and I don't think I'm going to because it's super huge already, and I'm pretty sure that all of this is super wash, so it would stretch, and I don't want that to happen. Let's see if I can remember the yarns. I'm not gonna go through that because I don't think I can. I always confuse the blue and the yellow, the blue and the red, but it'll be down below a link to my project page. And I think it just goes worth saying, that didn't even make sense. I think it's worth saying that if you go to my project pages on Ravelry, I'm really good about trying to keep them up to date. So if I have any notes or modifications, those are there. I try to make sure that the yarn I use, how much I use, the needle size, usually my gauge is there. Yeah, the pattern names, all of that stuff is on my project pages. So you can go there and see everything. So let's get into finished objects. This is actually going to be like short knitting content today, guys. Yay. Okay, anyway, finished objects. So my last finished object of, and this has not been blocked because I don't have my blocking mats and it's too much hassle to try to do it here. So it hasn't been blocked. So an almost FO, a MOFO, a mostly finished object. I got that from Squirrel Pie Productions, but I can't remember. She got it from someone else, and I can't remember who she got it from. It's in one of like her previous episodes. Anyway, a MOFO, a mostly finished object. I like that. I'm gonna use that. Anyway, so I finished my Spindrift shawl, which is a pattern by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. And this is it. Like you can see, I've still got my end from binding off and the first end from casting on. And it's super tiny, but this is super wash yarn, so I'm sure it will stretch like nobody's business once it relaxes, once I soak it. And then it definitely has to be blocked anyway because there's this lace detail at the end. And I was really proud of myself. I was going to just do an I-cord bind off, but I ended up just going with the pattern because I liked the way it looked, and so I did the picot bind off that's in the pattern. And I'm pretty sure that I've done a picot bind off before. I didn't feel like dealing with this, which is kind of funny because I was going to trade it out for an I-cord bind-off, which also takes a bit of time. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking about there, but anyway, so I did the Pico bind-off, and I do love the way that it looks with this pattern. So like I said, it's looking a little janky because I need to block it out. But that was a really fun pattern in it. It's super quick. I did not realize how bad I needed one to knit a shawl. I mean, I knit my bendy arrow, but yeah, I think at that point I was more stress knitting, and this was really just a relaxing, like, I want to knit a shawl. And then also, like, the bendy arrow, that was the last shawl I made before this. Well, you know, not including my oracle because it was in the round, like, back and forth wise. My bendy arrow was garter stitch, and so it was all knitting, but I really enjoyed the stockinette on this. I need to get back into some stockinette lace type shawls because I miss those. So this is the yarn, and it's lavender. Hold on, I'm gonna hold it on this side. Yay, you can kind of, it's pretty true to color. It's only blowing out a little bit. So this is Lavender Loon Yarn Company. I think this is her 75/25 superwash merino nylon base, and the colorway is Hearthside. This is the full skein that I got in my holiday mini kit from her. And you can see I need to stop sitting this over there when I know I'm going to need it. But you can see it's a beautiful neutral creamy brown base with all of these speckles of color, and I love it. It was amazing to work with, as always. You guys know if you've watched previous episodes. I usually can't go one episode without mentioning her yarn somehow. So anyway, she has a beautiful, wonderful yarn to work with, and I really hope that she brings this colorway back, or that it's already in her shop. I'd have to look. I don't think it was, but I could be wrong. But I hope that she has more of this because this is beautiful. It would be a great, like, front color for some brioche against, like, a darker background or something. But that's that. I used US size 3 needles, which are 3.25 millimeter. And yeah, that was my last FO of 2017. So my first finished object of 2018 was something that really needed to be finished. So get ready. Okay, I feel like I always have a decent amount of finished objects and knitting content for you guys, but get ready for an extreme amount of knitting content because the winter term for the Harry Potter Knitting and Crochet House Cup has started, and anyone that participates in the cup can tell you that it's like the #1 motivator, at least for me, and I think I've heard other people say this too, but it's really good at motivating you to knit all the things and finish because you want points. Yeah, fake points to win a fake cup, but we still get bragging rights, and that's what counts. So anyway, all that to say, these were finished for something on the house cup, of course, as basically everything will be at this point. And if you're looking at these, you're like, yay, she finally finished them. So these are my velvet twig socks, and that's just the name of the colorway. This is the color. This is, again, Lavender Loon Yarn Company, and this is the velvet twig colorway. So I just did, this is one of the socks, and you can see I just did a 3x1 ribbing, and I also did it going up the foot and back and front on the leg, and then I just did a my usual suspended bind off at the top, because it was already a bunch of ribbing, so I didn't switch to a different type of ribbing. So yeah, I don't know which one was the second sock, but I was about halfway through the second sock. I don't think I had, no, I think I was somewhere like right here. I was on the foot because I hadn't done the heel yet. And so I whipped through that once the house cup started, because you have to wait to start projects for them to count. And the one that this was used for, I just needed to finish something. I had to finish a whip, so I was working on this. Anyway, what was I going to say about this? Oh yeah, I never really mentioned this, but the bind off that I use is a suspended bind off, and this one's a little, sometimes it can be a little tight, but it stretches really good if you use a stretchy ribbing. But yeah, I use the suspended bind off for my socks, and I cannot remember what video I used to learn it, but I will write it. I'm sure I've put it across the screen by now, and I'll be sure to just kind of type it in the show notes below so that you guys can just copy paste and look it up on YouTube. But it's a really good stretchy bind off for me. Again, like I usually do, I used to do 1x1 ribbing for the cuff of my socks, and now I've switched back to 2x2 because it's a little stretchier. And I use the suspended bind off, and it's really good about adding some stretch. So yeah, these are done. Usual 56 stitches toe up. And these socks were my first German short row heel. So there's that. And I like it. If you've, been paying attention at all to if you've watched other episodes, my socks, I've really incorporated these heels because I like them. It's a lot easier to just like use one color and keep going, and I don't have to worry about how far am I because I need to start gusseting creases. It's a lot easier. And the video that I used for German short row heels is linked on my project page for that. So the next finished object, or it's two finished objects, I do not have. I already gave them to my dad and my brother, and I could have gotten my brothers to show you guys, but it's not that big a deal. I figured out how to put pictures like on the screen while I'm talking, guys. I'm super excited about this. I don't have to I'll put in a picture here and cut it out. Anyway, so I will pop up a picture here of the hats that I finished. So everyone's Christmas presents are just now being finished because I realized that I could get a lot of classes done and a lot of yardage points if I waited until term started back for the Harry Potter House Cup. So, yeah, so everyone's Christmas presents are just now being finished. But hey, they're still getting the presents, and I'm getting fake points. Everyone's happy. So anyway, by now I've put the picture in. Maybe it's gone, maybe it's not. I don't know. But this is the yarn that I used, and I have 2 skeins of this. So this is Lang. Hold on, I see the tag. Okay, so this is Lang Jowl Color. There's the tag, and I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but they show on here, oh, you can kind of see it. They show on here how the stripe pattern looks, how it works up. And so this is just light grays, mid grays, dark grays, and then it has some brown over in there. Yeah, you guys can kind of see that. There's some brown over in here as well. And I had 2 skeins of this yarn because, as you can tell, I still have the reinforcement thread. So there were 2 skeins of this, and I'll show you guys the color number while I'm talking. So I was going to knit socks for my dad and brother, but I figured, they would want hats more than socks because they always wear hats. So I found a pattern on Ravelry. I held this double, so that's why both skeins have been used, because I held it double. And I used the Erie hat pattern by Americo Original Design Team. And I did do a couple modifications to the pattern. Those are on my project page, but it was really good. It was all ribbing, so it was all 1x1 ribbing. Even the decreases, they were kept in pattern, and that was really good. While you were doing the body, it was super boring because I got tired of the ribbing really quickly, and not because it was tedious to do at all. I love 1x1 ribbing, but it was just constant ribbing. There was no break to it, so that got really annoying at one point, but they're done. So in the picture, my dad's is the shorter one, and my brother's is the longer one, because he wears slouchier hats. I compared both of, so I knit my dad's first. I made him some crochet hats, and I had him bring them to me so I can measure how tall they were. And then he wanted a little bit of slouch in his hat, so I used that to kind of compare. And then so then I let him try it on, and it was good. And then I was going to let my brother try that on to compare, but he had one of his hats sitting out, and he was asleep when all of this was happening. But yeah, so then I compared the one that I made my dad when I finished it, I compared it to one of my brother's hats, and so I needed to knit it a little longer, so in the picture it's the longer hat. Yeah, but it was really quick. I finished them within 3 days, I think, 2 or 3 days, and maybe even, yeah, it was 2 or 3 days, but it's a really quick pattern, especially because I was holding fingering weight double, which made about a DK weight. I used a US size 5 needle, which is 3.75 millimeter. So those were great to work on, and they're done. And then the third, so there were 4 Christmas presents that I had to get done. So the third Christmas present, this is all the yarn that I have left over. These are 2 different skeins. This is it. I guess I could have used it down to the wire, but I didn't really want to have to bother with like magic knotting this to this, and then it was too much, so I just bound off. Which is fine because they're still not really as long as she wanted them anyway. Let me tell you what they are. So the yarn, this little jumble of mess, is Patton's Croy 4-ply sock. So this is fingering weight, and it's in the flax colorway. And my mom wanted, and the ends aren't woven in because I finished these super early in the morning, and yeah. But they'll be woven in by tomorrow because I'm leaving in a couple days, and I'm not taking them with me for 2 ends, so anyway, they'll be done. But my mom wanted some boot socks, and these don't go as far up as she would like, but they're still pretty tall. They're almost to her knee. I would lift my leg and show you where it comes up to, but again, not on like stable. I mean, you guys can tell how like it's kind of, the laptop is shaking. It's not on a super stable surface, so anyway, boot socks. Yeah. So these are them, and I did some increases. Oh, well, I've got them folded differently, so I can't really see it, but I did do a couple increases somewhere around here, I think. I increased twice, so I knit up, and then I had her I just kind of let her try them on, and I just kind of looked at her calf, and then I increased when I thought it would be good, and then I knit a while, and I let her try them on again, and then I increased when I thought it would be good, and pretty soon, the last increase was around right here, so pretty soon after that, I realized I was not going to have enough to kind of do up to where she wanted, so I did a good 2x2 ribbing, a good length ribbing, And then, like I said, I used my suspended, or a suspended bind off. It's not my creation. I used a US 00 1.75 millimeter needle, just because this is a little bit thicker of a yarn than what I like work with, like you know, hand-dyed yarns and things. Was just a little bit thicker, but it's a really good, I can tell it's going to be a really good workhorse yarn. They did come out kind of tight. I think more around the foot than the leg, but they are a little tight because I tried one on too before I let her try them on. And it was kind of tight on my foot as well, so I'm going to see if I can soak them, and maybe that will let the yarn kind of relax a little bit, because it is kind of tight right around here, around the ankle and the foot. So hopefully that'll help. I did German short row heels on this. I love doing a heel flap and gusset for when I knit socks for other people, but I knew that that would take a lot more yarn, and I only had 2 skeins of this yarn, so I was trying to make it last as much as possible, so I did a German short row heel instead. But yep, these are, for all intents and purposes, done. Super excited because while I was knitting the leg, they were starting to get really boring. I love a good stockinette in the round project, but those socks were killing me. And like I said, it's a workhorse yarn, so it's not the softest thing. It is 75% washable wool and 25% nylon. So, you know, but still it's not the softest thing to work with. So I was ready to move on by the time I got halfway through the leg. Yeah, so those are all of my finished objects. So let's get into some works in progress. So the main work in progress, sorry, you guys know what happens. Yarn fumes and fiber flying everywhere now. So anyway, I guess I'll show you the bag. It is being housed. She doesn't have a tie on this one. Darn. Anyway, it's being housed in my Harry Potter sock sack by Manicori, who is Manicori_creations on Instagram. And in it, I am housing some wrist warmers for my mom. Yeah, she's getting all the knits this Christmas, guys. Which is not even the half of it. I'll show you something in a second. But yeah, so these are going to be out of my leftover Cheers colorway from Jinx Yarn in her Strong Sock Base. So you guys have seen these before. I made my Christmas socks out of those, or they're not my mom's socks, but anyway. Yeah, so I'm just a little bit past, maybe like 2 rows past separating the thumb stitches, so this is going really well. And oh, I didn't bring that other yarn over here, but excuse me, we were talking right before I started podcasting, and even though, like, you know, when I like keep going and then I bind off, when I come back to the thumb and I join the yarn, it more than likely will not match up. It's just not going to happen. But I'm going to do the thumb rounds, the stockinette rounds in this yarn, and then I brought some yarn home to knit her another, just in case I needed to knit her another pair of socks to replace a pair. But it turned out that I didn't have to, so I still have like half a skein in that yarn, and so I can join and do the ribbing on the thumb in the cream color. It's a cream color. So yeah, this is how the yarn works up. Yeah, it's blowing out. There we go. Yeah, it's a little easier to see there, but I still love this colorway. And it's really fun to knit with. Even after the super long socks, I'm not tired of it because, yeah, it's just really fun. Stripes, of course. But Oh, the pattern. I am using a pattern. This is the Koigu wristers by FKD Designs. And I'm knitting these on US 000 1.5 millimeter needles, which are what I typically use for my socks because the gauge that you had to get on these was 8 stitches per inch. So, and that's what I use on my socks. So I'm using a sock needle. Oh, I need to put this in back. So speaking of my mom getting all the gifts, remember these bad boys? She loves these because of the yellow heels and toes. So, and I'm fine with her having these because I made my Weasley Christmas socks. So these were originally supposed to be my Christmas socks, but since I made those, it's fine. She can have these since she likes them, and they fit her really well. She already tried them on, so I'm gonna weave in all the ends on these, and those will be hers. And then this past summer, I made her some socks for her birthday, and never woven the ends, so like the toe and the heel, because this is another colorway from Lang yarn, and so I used the reinforcement thread on the toe and the heel. And I didn't weave in any of the ends yet. It's been sitting here for months, and I remembered that I had them and hadn't given them to her, so I'm gonna weave in the ends on those, and she'll have those. So she's getting 3 pairs of socks for Christmas, which is kind of funny. Anyway, she's super knit-worthy though, so I don't mind. So, oh, well, I've already got this. So in my Fringe Supply Co. field bag, I can do this. It's even on the tag and I can't read it. So I haven't started this yet. This is the Cascade Heritage yarns in the pumpkin colorway. And nothing's been started yet because I need the needle that the wrist warmers are on. But I'm going to be, hopefully today, starting the I Love You More Than Pumpkin Spice Socks by CC Almond, which I'm using for the house cup for one of like the advanced studies things. And I just thought it would be pretty cool to show you guys the swatch that I did for my owl. You have to swatch using each of the yarns, and so and you can put them all in one swatch. So I just did that, and I usually rip it out so that I can just start using the yarn. But these are socks, and I know that I won't use the whole skein anyway. Even if I do super long socks, I'm not going to use the whole skein. I won't be anywhere near using the whole skein for super long socks. So these are all of the colors, and my mom really liked this when I was working it up. She loved the yarns before I'd even started joining them in. So she wants this to hang up in her craft room. And yeah, so I just have to weave in the ends, which are all the ends that you can see on here. So it's just 5 of them. I just haven't done it yet because all of this has to have ends woven in too. So she's going to be getting this as well. And then, yeah, so once I start the socks, they'll be in my fringe bag. Just thought that I'd mention those instead of doing a Craven It section because everything's really that's going to be started today. My owl actually got approved on the 1st, or was it the 1st or the 2nd? No, it got approved on the 2nd. I proposed on the 1st and it got approved on the 2nd. It's been almost a week and I still haven't started, so gotta get on that. And then these are my Advent socks in the, I don't know if I put this in the intro or not. I worked on a couple rows because I thought I was going to be able to talk to you guys while I knit on this. No, I can't. So these are the Advent socks. I'm just doing a 6x2 ribbing. These are 1.5 millimeter needles. And these are just using the scraps of my Advent minis, and you can see I've already magic knotted the next color on. I'm really close. And all of the minis for that and the first sock are being held in my Quirky Monday Crafts Starry Night sock sack. So I wasn't going to mention these because the 2 rows that I did before I started podcasting are the only 2 rows that I've done in like the last 2 weeks. But I thought I'd just mention that. And then, okay, I have one more work in progress that I'm going to talk about. It is the My Sister's Shawl Mystery Knit Along, which is a pattern and knit along hosted by Cozy Up Knits, or which is what they are in Ravelry, or Cozy Up with the Stitchin' Sisters is the name of the podcast. But because it's a mystery knit along, and I don't really feel like doing the whole spoiler, skip to this minute, I'm going to show that to you guys at the very end of the podcast after everything. So just heads up that there is one more whip, but it will literally be at the very end. That way, anyone who wants to see well, really there's only retail therapy. So it'll be, in a couple minutes, but that's how I'm going to do it for each week. Because I do want to show it to you guys and kind of talk about it, but I don't want to ruin it for other people. And like I said, I don't feel like doing the timestamp and then having to come back and tell you where to go, because I will forget. And I don't want to ruin it. Just in case anyone is, I know some of you guys are knitting it, so just in case. So let's get into retail therapy. I only have one thing of retail therapy. So last week I showed you guys the October and November colorways that I got from the Graceland Wool Harry Potter Mystery Yarn Club, because I didn't think that December was going to make it here on time, so it's just like, forget waiting to open all of them at the same time, I'll just open these 2 now. And then yesterday, of course this would happen. So then yesterday, the December color we got here. So if you haven't gotten your, see, this is a spoiler anyway, that's hilarious. So if you haven't gotten your December colorway for Graceland Wool Harry Potter Yarn Club, and you don't want to see it, don't look. But yeah. So this, well actually, I'll take, actually I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm not going to, because I took the other tags off, and then she has them so, wrapped over, tied around the skein, that I could not get them back on. So I'm not going to take this one off. But this is her 80-20 base. I love that it's just to the point. It's literally the words 80-20 is the name of the base. So 80% superwash merino nylon, 20% nylon. And the name of this colorway is Pensive Memory. And she has the number 32 up here, but I'm not really sure what it means. So this is, excuse me, this is the yarn. So it's got these, I'm going to hold it back here. Yeah, you can, it's better right here. So you can see it's got these beautiful light blues, and there's some purples over in there. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. And just these browns and the dark blue, and then this super dark charcoaly, purpley type color, and then the deep purple. It's beautiful. So this is the tag, Pensive Memory. And I wrote, just like last week, I wrote the little December thing on there, just so that I remembered. So yeah, that's literally all of retail therapy, that's it. So, okay. So just a couple reminders in case anyone's going to stop watching now. Just a couple reminders, the knit along threads, which are linked below, oh gosh, guys, I still can't talk. Knit along threads are linked in the description bar below. For the Ravelry group, the Spring Garment Cowl, get ready guys, it starts next week. And yeah, and then remember to go to the separate knit along thread for kind of the list and see what I have there. It'll probably just be the ones that I mentioned today, but please feel free to comment and let me know about other ones. If you could give a link to a chatter thread or at least a Ravelry group or something, that would be great. But if you could just tell, if you don't have time to do that or even don't want to, and just could tell me which podcast is hosting it, I'm sure I can get there and find the threads, and that's fine. Yeah, and then like I said, all my project pages have all the details. If you missed anything, and all of those will be linked below with the projects. Yeah, so if this is all you want to see, if you're not staying for the mystery knit along showing, I suppose, thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you soon. So, if you are staying to see what very little I have of the mystery knit along. So, I don't have the pattern printed out or anything. So maybe I'll pop a picture here of what the pattern picture looks like on the pattern page for Ravelry. So this is the My Sister's Shawl Mystery Knit Along, which, like I said, is being hosted, and it's a design by Cozy Up with the Stitchin' Sisters, who are Cozy Up Knits on Ravelry. I think they might be Cozy Up Knits on Instagram as well. So I'm holding this project in my fall bag from Aggie's Bags. Oh, it's not on that side. From Aggie's Bags. Because this is actually one of the biggest bags I had with me. So anyway, I'll show you the yarn first. So this is, I got, and I showed you guys this last week when it was still packaged. I got a kit for this from Midnight Cravings, who is in Canada. I forget which part of Canada, but she's in Canada. And so my color 3, and I'm not done with clue 1 yet. Clue 2 will come out, if it comes out the same time it did last week, it'll come out for me later today. It's supposed to come out Monday, but you know, depending on where you are in the world. Anyway, so my color 3 is Curtain Call, and this is all on her Sweet Sock base, which is, or no, this one is on her Sweet Sock base, which I think is 80/20. I have the little, oh dear, technical difficulties. Anyway, yeah, this is on her Sweet Sock base. I'm not going to take it out. Which is 80/20 superwash merino nylon. And this is the Curtain Call colorway, this beautiful blue. I love this. I am a little scared about this bleeding though. So I was trying to think about what I'm going to do to kind of remedy that last night. But anyway, I have a long time to think about that, like the whole month. This will be my color 2, and this one I don't remember. This is the Sugar, this is her Sugar base, the silver, which is her Stellina base, and this is the silver Stellina. So 84% superwash merino and 16% Stellina. So this is it, and I don't know if you'll be able to see, oh yeah, you can kind of see the sparkles there. And the name of this colorway is Cinema. So she calls this set her Cinema set because of this colorway. So yeah, you can kind of see the sparkles on there. The project, I mean the stash picture on Ravelry, go to that stash page. My camera caught the sparkle beautifully. It's awesome. So that's color 2. And color 1 is, again, her Sweet Sock, so 80/20. And this is the Harvest colorway. And this colorway is the entire reason why I bought the set. Because this is, my favorite color is yellow, and this is a beautiful, beautiful gold. It's showing up a little darker. That's about true to color, actually. Yeah, back here it's showing up a little too gold, but that's about true to color. Yeah. So, clue 1 has, there's like a lace mesh section, and then there's a broken seed, and I think there's garter, and there's eyelets, all in clue 1. And I am still on so I started this at like 2 in the morning, aka like 12 hours ago. And so I'm not too far yet, but I'm still on the broken seed section. So you do that in between 2 lace mesh sections. And this is a paid for pattern, so that's pretty much all I'm going to say about this. Yeah, so I won't give anything away, but yeah, so you do, I know how to do a provisional cast on, but I've never done one this way. So they use the Judy's Magic cast on, which I use all the time for, you know, because I knit toe up. But I had never used it to do a provisional cast on. So in the setup pages that you get before you get the first clue, they were stressing that you have to have 2 cords. You can fiddle around with, you know, the tips if you only have 1 set and you're using interchangeable, but you have to have 2 cords. And I was like, okay, all right. I was like, and for mystery knit-alongs, my thing is trust the designer. If it's a designer that you love all of their patterns, and you just love their work, just trust them. If they're, you know, take note. If they're saying something a ton, or they're really stressing it, probably want to pay attention to what they're saying. So yeah, that's why you had to have 2 cords, because you do a provisional cast on onto both of the needles instead of like 1 needle, 2 tips like you do in toe up socks. You're doing it onto 2 different needles. And as you can see, those, oh gosh, maybe not, because the needles are clanking everywhere. So on the bottom needle, which we're not working off of right now, I just have these giant, I think these are like size 9 needles, just so the ends aren't open because I don't have stoppers. So I just put giant needles on there because I know the stitches won't even be able to like go up on those, so I won't lose any stitches because it does kind of slide around a little bit. Yeah, but this is what I have so far. So there's like that first little mesh section, and I'm on the broken seed now. And they do have, oh, that's what I was going to say. They do have a video for clue 1, and I think they're going to do this for every clue to kind of answer some FAQs and just kind of show us a few things to help us all be successful with this. So yeah, that video is there, and you don't have to watch it, but it was actually pretty helpful. And they tell you in the pattern, like, you know, if you have issues, check out the video that's on the YouTube channel. So, and it was great. It's kind of like a mini episode almost, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so this is how far I am. So when I get done here in a second, I'm going to whip through the rest of the wristers, because that's just the first one. I still have to cast on and do the second one. So, because I didn't want to split that skein, so working one at a time. So I have to finish the wrist warmers, and then I'm going to knit on this, because I have a feeling that while I'm finishing the wrist warmers, the second clue is going to come out. So I'll be working on this probably into the wee hours. So maybe my owl socks won't get cast on today, because I'm really loving this knit. So it is worked back and forth. You can see we're getting a rectangle so far. And I'm using my little egg, tiny eggs stitch marker from Cabinet of Curios. And this, I'm using a US size 3 needle, 3.25 millimeter. In the beginning, like, kind of setup pages, they gave you the gauge that you needed to get, so you could go ahead and gauge swatch. And I ended up not doing, I think I'll be fine, but I ended up not doing a gauge swatch because the gauge that they told you to do it swatching garter, and they give you, thank goodness, they give you the before and after blocking swatch measurements. So I did not do a gauge swatch because the before measurements for the garter were, I had basically the exact same gauge when I knit my bendy arrow, because it was in garter stitch, and I used a size 3 needle. So I'm thinking that I'll be okay, because at some points I'm knitting a little tight, and I kind of have to say, you know, don't knit too tight so that it'll still block well. So yeah, I've discovered that I've been knitting a little bit tighter lately, but there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, this is how far I am. I'm sure that by next week or Saturday, whenever I podcast again, I'll have tons of progress for you guys. So yeah, that's everything for this week. Like I said a few minutes ago, check out the cow threads in the Ravelry group. Look at my project pages if you need details for anything. Feel free to message me. Yeah, have a great week, guys, and happy crafting!